Hello, Bl'Art here, with Dare to Defy 5, the Transcendence Tier 10 Reckoning Redux fight. I haven't actually cleared Transcendence Tier 10, it's proven to be quite a doozy, but I figured this is probably the better of the two fights to start first, since I don't need to, get through lockout content in order to figure out what team I'm using. The team we're using here is Terra, Xdeath, and Auron. Before we get too deep into it, be sure to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already and enjoy this content, want to see more of it. Leave a comment down below, let me know what you brought for this fight, what you're planning on bringing to Tier 10 if you haven't already beaten it, what you think of the banner characters, just share your thoughts, I want to hear from you. But, man, this is a doozy, as I said. The boss has a number of spooky mechanics from some of the more challenging Transcendence fights. I think it's like they smashed Tiers 5 and 6 together, and those were two of the trickiest ones, because, the main boss will warp his turns if he has less than 7 debuffs on him. And he also gets different buffs based on, if he has fewer than even that. Luckily we have debuff start, so it ended up not being an issue. You'll see there, I started with, I opened with Laguna Call, or was it Titus Call? I think it was Titus Call. I had both of them on the team, and basically, so long as Xdeath or Auron was going first, we were going to be okay. The other key part of it, though, was that Auron had to be targeted, because he was going to warp his turn, and part of me getting him to stop his turn warps was for Auron to use his counter and apply his debuffs, so it was a whole thing. We also gave Auron a Vanille Sphere, because the boss will periodically give himself framed buffs, unless you, hit him up with a ribbon. And since this team doesn't have 8 framed buffs just kind of on the non-call side of things, and we do expect the enemy to take turns, I wanted to make sure that that they weren't, taking up valuable debuff real estate, pushing off our unframed debuffs. Oh, man. The other key mechanic here is you'll see that there are 3 little threshold marks. The middle one is actually just the usual, stat increase. But that first and third threshold mark is the Tier 5 Mummies trick, in which it will command the little dudes on the sides to do their special double barrel attack, or whatever it's called, auto fire, I don't know, robot fight. And that, if they're above 50% health, will blow you up, kill you, no questions asked. So you're going to be managing their health. They're quite squishy, and so it's very easy to push them below that 50% threshold, but it's also easy to kill them accidentally at the wrong moment. Especially since the thresholds are kind of close to each other. Luckily, because of how tanky Shinryu bosses are these days, it's not as big an issue. You'll see here, by the way, we're just kind of doing general Terra stuff. We've used a single... we've actually gone into her force time, I meant to say. Sorry. I was so busy talking about the mechanics, I forgot to pay attention to what I was doing. We are in Terra's force time, the first of the 2 we'll be using. Spoilers. And this one, we didn't do anything fancy for it. We're just looking for a bunch of damage. We used it. We didn't use her burst at all. That's very important that we did not touch her burst. We got lucky and got a launch during the course of it. But yeah, we're just using a pair of LDs in order to get a bunch of damage on the boss. We're going to be, from that point on, just kind of roughing it until we can get 40% of the boss's health. You'll see there, we actually, it's funny, normally Terra's skill 1 Meltdown, Jesus, is the more valuable of her 2 skills because it has Splash, same number of HP dumps. But in this case, Meteor, which is an AoE Brave Shave, is the more valuable skill at points because it's single target, and that means you can carefully manage the ad's health. With Xdeath, we're using his skill 1, which is single target with Splash, as opposed to his skill 2, which is full AoE, or not full AoE, split AoE, which would have its damage nerfed by 1/3 against these guys. The boss is now in force time, and that's kind of spooky, but luckily with Xdeath and Auron, we're pretty darn safe during it. We could theoretically use Terra's to cancel it, but I decided I didn't want to because we're saving that force for the last 40%. This fight is identical to the Tier 10 fight in most respects, except for one key difference. It's actually very important. The boss has an additional 50 million health on Tier 10, or I guess I should say the Dare to Defy boss has 15 million less health. That's 1 to 5 million less health. And that's really important. Normally that would be an inconvenience. I'd be like, okay, that's a few more turns we have to wait, spend. But this boss, once he hits 40%, as you may find out, or as you may have already found out, in addition to doing the little adds auto attack thing that he does at 60% as well, will begin healing for 2% of his health? I don't know. I don't know the exact percentage, but in tier 10 it's 1,000,000 health, and here it's only like 8,950, something like that. And since it happens every action, and I mean every action, player, enemy, call, what have you, that's a lot of bonus health that the tier 10 boss gets compared to this one. A lot of more effective health. And so I'm not actually sure this team is going to work in tier 10. I'm going to have to try it, give it a shot, see what happens. You're going to see it cuts it pretty close with this setup. I may have to, and I have to use Charlotta anyway for the ticket mission, so I'll probably use a different team for tier 10 proper. But anywho, yeah, so as a result, basically, your damage calculations, once you get that 40%, become very important, because the only way you're outracing that is with an FR. I haven't checked to see if anyone has done it without an FR yet, but if you have, you're a madman. Looking at you, Excalibur. Scott on, you crazy people. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and set up for the first of our 2 BTs that we'll be using. We have the X-Death. Oh, you know I greened this guy when he came out. I'm very disappointed that his poisons are unaffected by FR time. I know why they're not. Like, it's supposed to be true damage, but it just seems kind of dumb to me. Like, obviously, the fact that he's just kind of ignoring the most important mechanic of this era, it kind of makes him a little DOA, just a bit. Luckily, his non-FR interactions are actually quite strong. He's pretty good outside of Force Time, for what use that is. But anyway, we've got that queued up. We got the big attack buff that it gives. That's nice. You know, damage every turn, battery every turn. That's kind of part of why we did that. So here we're going to be carefully trying to push the boss to 40% without killing the ads. Because as you can see there, the ads are pretty darn low. And I'm doing some mental math here, and I'm realizing I think I may have goofed up, guys, because we have 3 turns to go, and there we have pushed him below 40. He's healing now, but the ads haven't done their attack, and if we kill them, he's going to resummon, and they're going to be full health, and we're probably going to die. I actually don't know if killing them here would mean that they just don't trigger the attack, because they'll be dead when we come into summon, but I don't want to find out this late into the run. So we're doing a few little things with Terra. We actually used an AA to get closer to the end of summon, because, again, we don't want any move with Splash to kill the ads by mistake, because we know they're at this one 1 health because of how XFBT works. So there we go. Ads have done their attack. He is at 41% health. And we are going to go into a somewhat sloppy, but ultimately effective FR time. Yes, I probably should have changed the music to Terra's FR music that I've been using, but it's been so long since I used XF first, and I really wanted to use this music. Anyway, anywho, where were we? So, we have used the FR, and we've used the LD. It is now time. We're actually going to jump into the burst phase. It's a really weird setup we have going on here. We have the Rain's Call, and I found out that normally Terra can't outdamage this boss with just her attack. She needs additional sources of HP damage, you know, something like a cane in the sky or something like that. And I decided for this, what I would use is a combination of X-Death's HP Poison, which isn't that great in Force Time, and launches during her burst phase, alongside the battery from X-Death's BT. That way we were able to safely bring both Tidus and Laguna on the other 2 party members, and kind of have a lot more safety as far as the debuff mechanic goes. If I was to do tier 10 proper here, I'd probably have to be a bit more clever about my calls and like replace one of them with, I don't know, a Leo call, a Cyan call, something else. Doubling up on those triple debuff calls I don't think is the answer. We ended up actually 1 spare, I think, so or 1 use spare, so I don't know, it's kind of weird, hard to figure it out. I'm checking the HP requirement here just to make sure, because there's a little HP poison going on, just a little bit, nothing that Orange Regen can't handle, but you know, it would suck to die to that. So we're gonna go ahead real quick, hit that burst finisher, and I did kind of goof this up because the ads got so low before we went into summon. I had meant to go through that burst phase with Terra's burst effect active from her finisher, but we couldn't do that, so instead we have to do a little bit of jiggery poker here, and by that I mean stare at the health, and then hit the burst finisher and pray it kills, which it will do because this is going to be 635% damage up. There we go. And there we have it. Dare to Defy 5 out of the way. God knows how I'm going to clear T10. Again, probably something involving Charlotta. We'll see. I got X-Death now too. I can bring him. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Adios.